guys, this is Oliver. I just wanted to say this is my first official video. Last two don't count because they were absolutely terrible, and the first one didn't count because it was test footage. Now, moving on, this is my critique of Thomas Was Alone, explaining the major points of it, explaining why it's a really cool game, and then after that, giving you some gameplay footage of the first, like 15 levels or something. All of it, it's gonna be like a little long input. It's gonna be like 10 minutes. So yeah, enjoy the movie.
Thomas was alone. Wow, a weird first thought to have. Thomas decided to start listing his observations for posterity. 1. The whole alone thing. 2. Portals. They led somewhere. He'd yet to work out where. 3. Falling. Thomas was absolutely fantastic at falling. He was almost as good at falling as he was at Interesting. Thomas couldn't fall past this block. Think, damn it, think! What if there was some kind of inverted fall? Some way to... what's the word? Jump. It worked! Thomas had solved the great inverted fall mystery. A big jump. But Thomas noted there was no real danger in missing it. The world didn't want him to fail here. It was pushing him, but gently. This all seemed a little dangerous. The world was not to be trusted. It was unstable, and it seemed to Thomas that it could let him down at any moment. He was starting to suspect. Thomas wondered whether the portals were actually taking him anywhere. He felt like he was making progress, but there wasn't really any way to know. He seemed to be moving predominantly up and to the right, which might, or might not, be important. It might have been paranoia again, but Thomas could have sworn the world was becoming more complicated. It always seemed to be one step ahead of his skills. It had been designed just for him. He wondered why. Was the world testing him? No. Too obvious. Something about the boiling, toxic, glowing water intimidated Thomas. He didn't like it. He certainly didn't want to swim in it. The loneliness was getting to Thomas. No amount of observation or obsessive note-taking could combat that. Thomas had a new theory. The world was training him. He could feel himself getting smarter. There was the mental list to consider. Over the minutes and seconds since his spontaneous generation, he'd become a pretty skilled jumper. He was evolving. He just wished he had someone to share it with. Chris took an immediate and deep dislike to the skinny red rectangle. Who the hell did this Thomas think he was? Chris had been doing fine. He wasn't the highest jumper, but he'd held his own. He'd even been graceful at times. Well, not actually. Not technically graceful, it's probably the wrong word, but you know, fine. There was that skinny little runt leaping about like he owned the place. Was more like it. A glowy white thing. Only Chris could get to it, which of course made it all the more enticing. What would it do? What new opportunity might this switch open up to him? Great. Another chance for Thomas to jump slightly higher than Chris. How fortunate. Seriously, this made the whole switch pressing thing entirely worthwhile. Was this good? Because on the surface, it did not seem good. Chris was pretty scared. Little Red seemed fine. Happy to be on his merry little adventure. Chris couldn't shake the feeling that things had taken a significant turn for the worse since Thomas had joined him. Sure, he'd been able to piggyback his way to ever so slightly higher platforms, but where had that got him? Well, to ever so slightly higher platforms, which was sort of his point. Chris stared at Thomas with pure hatred. He seemed so very happy at their situation. Friends together, a brave fellowship of quadrilaterals on a quest for greatness. That would be fine. But it was all the obvious observation that Thomas was doing which grated. Every time they saw something vaguely new, Chris would hear a satisfied little from the vaulting idiot. He hoped the next portal would split them up, if only for a few levels.
after that pause, we'll get to my points. The reason this is awesome is really bad drum roll. Well, the really good point about it is the characters are colored blocks, and yet they have personality. Yeah, that's the thing that makes this cool. Now, for example, Thomas, the green block that you meet in the front, he is very kind. He's very curious. But his one flaw is that he is lonely, consistently lonely. And the loneliness starts getting to him a little bit halfway through. Then he later meets Chris, right? Chris. He's sort of a cynical, annoyed. He's pretty much a tiny version of Total Biscuit. He's a little out of shape, so that gives him a ton of insecurities, and for that, a pretty big ego. Therefore, he kind of likes it when he's able to get the switch, but it kind of backfires for him when it turns out, well, it just gives Thomas another opportunity to show off, or which is what he calls it. He's just doing it because he can. Now, yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's the rest of it, so enjoy the movie. This would be it. This is catching up on all the major points throughout this gameplay footage. This will contain spoilers, but I have just given them already, so it's kind of pointless for me to say it. I'm saying it anyway. This is Oliver, signing off.